Hello there, welcome, and I am going to teach you bind shell and reverse shell today, and I am also going to teach you how to carry out a bind shell and a reverse shell. So let's get in. So over here we have the bind shell and the reverse shell. Now both kind of shells are used for remote connection. Imagine that you want to establish a connection to your computer at home. Maybe you are in the office and you want to establish a connection to your computer at home. You can use either the bind shell or the reverse shell, or imagine yourself as a penetration tester or an ethical hacker or a cybersecurity professional. You can make use of the bind shell or the reverse shell to establish a connection to your target machine. So right now let's establish the definition. Okay, for the bind shell, in the bind shell, the target starts a command shell and listens on a local port. That is, the target machine starts a command shell and listens on a local port, allowing the attacker to connect to the target on the listening port. While for the reverse shell, which is the opposite of the bind shell, the attacker starts a command shell and listens on a local port, allowing the target to connect to the attacker's machine on the listening port. So that is the major difference. In the bind shell, the target starts a listener, while in the reverse shell, the attacker machine starts a listener. So over here we have this image here. So this is for the bind shell. Just like in the definition, the target machine starts a listener on a certain port. So let's say port 444. Now the attacker machine connects to this target machine. Now one of the disadvantages of using the bind shell is when your target machine or your target is sitting behind a firewall. Now since most outbound rules, that is outbound firewall rules, are more on premises, there will be no form of connection between the attacker machine and the target machine, since there's a firewall sitting in between the connection. So for that, you make use of the reverse shell. Now for the reverse shell, the attacker machine starts a listener on port 444, allowing the target machine to connect to this attacker machine via this port 444. Now this is for the reverse shell. Now imagine there is a firewall sitting in between this connection here. The connection will still be established between the attacker machine and the target machine, since most firewall accept outbound outbound rules. That is, they accept outbound packet from the host or the computer in that network. So okay, so for that, let's go into the implementation. Alright, for both demonstration, that is for the bind shell and reverse shell, I am going to make use of the Kali Linux virtual machine and also the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine. Now the Kali Linux will serve as the attacker machine, while the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine will serve as the target machine. I am also going to make use of a networking tool known as Netcard. Now Netcard is a networking tool which you can use to perform networking operations like file transfers and also establishing connection between two host devices. Okay, so for that, I'm going to come over here to my Kali Linux and start up the terminal. But before that, we need to retrieve the IP address of the target machine, which in this case is the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine. So I'm going to head over to the target machine, which is the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine, and we are going to perform two actions here. First of all, we are going to retrieve the IP address and also set up a listener on port 4444 on this target machine. So for that, I'm going to give it the ifconfig command. Okay, so this is the IP address 172.30.1.20. So the next thing is to set up is to set up the listener. So I'm going to use netcard, and we don't want to perform name resolution using DNS, so we just want to use IP address. So we are giving the N option, then the L here to set up a listener, then the VA for verbose, which will give us more information whenever whenever the target machine and the attacker machine have established connection successfully. Then the PA for port, so I'm going to listen on port 4444. We're also going to give it the -E option, which stands for execute. So we're going to execute a file here, which is a bash shell. This means that whenever the attacker machine connects successfully to this target machine, the attacker machine will be offered the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine bash shell. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. Now the machine is listening on port 444. So I'm going to go back to the attacker machine, which in this case is our Kali Linux. So for that, we're going to use this option, then the IP address of the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine, then the port 4444. okay, so over here I made a mistake here. It's supposed to be netcat, then hit enter. So let's go over to the target machine, which is the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine, to see what's going on there. Okay, we see that the Kali Linux has established a connection successfully to this machine. This is the IP address of the Kali Linux. So let's go over to the Kali Linux. So you can execute any Linux command here. So ls, we have these two files, pwd.txt and vulnerable. So let's see. Okay, so the first one here is a file, while the second one is a directory. You can also cd into that directory and check the contents. Okay, this is the content of this directory, vulnerable. So let's go back. Okay, so we are back here to the home directory. So you can also use this method to display the content of this file here. We can use the cat command to display the content of this file to see if we can find anything important inside. So we're going to do cat pwd.txt. oh, so this is the password of the user. This is the password of the user. So and one more thing is this, the interface given to us here is not that comfortable working with. So we are going to give ourselves the Linux interface. So we're going to use this import pty pty.spawn bin bash. Okay, so I'll be given this interface. So you see this one is nice and beautiful. So that's how to carry out a bind shell. So the next thing we are going to do now is to carry out a reverse shell. To carry out a reverse shell, from the definition of a reverse shell, the attacker machine is one that is supposed to start a listener, and the target machine will now connect to that listener via the port used by that listener. So in this case, we are going to set up a listener right now on the Kali Linux machine. So we're going to use this. Let's use port 444. Oh, I got that wrong. NC. So the Kali Linux machine, which is the attacker machine, is now listening on port 444. So we're going to go over to the target machine and connect to the attacker machine. So for that, we are over here. So nc nv172.30.1.23. this is the IP address of the Kali Linux machine. Then since this is a reverse shell, we're still going to use this option. Now if you are using a Windows host as your target machine, instead of giving it /bin/bash, you can give it cmd.exe for Windows host. This is just for the Windows command prompt. So because we are working with Linux distributions, we are going to use the bin/bash. Okay, so hit enter. No port, sorry, mistake there, I didn't give it the port. So that should be port 4444, right? Enter. Okay, so open. Let's go over to the attacker machine, which is the Kali Linux machine. So over here we can see a connection has been established successfully, 172.30.1.20 from the target machine. So this is how a reverse shell works. So remember from what I said earlier, in a reverse shell, it is useful whenever the target is sitting behind a firewall. So here you can ls, you can still use the import, you can still use the python-c import pty.spawn bin bash to give yourself a nice interface. So you can continue here, pwd who id, all these things. So that's how to carry out a bind shell and a reverse shell. So please, if you know you are just joining me right now, please do well to like, share and comment on my videos, and please don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you don't get to miss any of my videos. Once again, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.